Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
The hell was that?
Maybe a drug nightmare? I don't know.
What are we
Yeah,
even doing today?
Um, no idea. Because we're kind of in between books. Hey, we could always do that thing I keep promising.
Well, you make a lot of promises. What are we doing today?
Well, why don't we talk about the Miniatures Handbook? I mentioned that, I think, back in... What month was it again? It's been a while.
was it like July?
Probably.
Well, that sounds like a good idea.
I have awoken. I'm ready.
Oh, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Well, I'm Adam, and yes, we are in fact going to talk about the Miniatures Handbook. I promised this a while back, so to the two of you that are excited about this, here's the video.
I'm the Diopsid, and I'm pretty jazzed for this because I'm a fan of the book.
I'm Alabaster the Unicorn, and you know what? This will be my first one doing one of these, so I'm excited.
And I'm Mrs. Diopsid, and well, I I'm not like super though. Although I'm not super really familiar with like mechanics and stuff. Like I know enough to maybe give an opinion, but we'll see.
So the way that these work are that there's a series of ratings that I will just simply list in a kind of short series right here. And the reason that I'm using these is because if you use the tier system, it doesn't really work well for prestige classes, and this is the first time we're actually going to cover them too.
Yeah. Needless to say, there is no really accurate way to gauge prestige classes in a vacuum because for a lot of them, how well they work depends on what enters them. But then there are other classes that no matter what you enter in, they're just crap.
Yep.
So rating it by tiers just doesn't really work. And that's why I went with rather quality, or whether or not it inhibits what you can do. Like for a prestige class, if it actually makes you worse, it's going to score very low
Oh,
traditionally.
and for your power gamers, even though this sounds like heresy, we are rating the class as a whole. We are not talking about taking one or two level dips here and there like all those optimized builds have.
Yeah, because if you just take only a 2-level dip, you don't really get the full experience. You're just taking
Yeah.
the best bits.
Yeah, these ratings assume that you have a 20 level build and you take all the levels of this class over the course of it.
Or if it's a prestige class, all 5, 7, 10, or 14, however many there are.
14's a very odd number for a prestige class.
There is a prestige class that has over 10 but under 20, and that's a really weird one. There's also ones that have 7 and 3.
Really?
Yeah.
There's also options for prestige class versions of the Bard, Paladin, and Ranger instead of making them base classes.
Hey?
I didn't know this.
They're 15 levels long.
Yep. And actually, I think this is a good idea to just get our feet wet. You're currently in the continental shelf of the ocean of content. And Miniatures Handbook was one of the first books that was released, mainly because the Wizards of the Coast wanted to advertise their miniatures game. And no, we're
Yep.
not talking about 4E.
This was trying to get into the wargaming department, even though, hilariously enough, that wargaming was kind of how D&D got its start.
So it kind of goes together like a pig in its trough. So, you know. And the
Yep.
first class that they actually come up with for this is called the Favored Soul. The best way to describe this class is they tried to make the sorcerer, but for a cleric rather than the wizard. It's a spontaneous caster.
Yep. One of the weirder aspects of it, though, is that it gets some martial abilities for no discernible reason.
I guess maybe it's because like it was like this book was intended for like mass combat, like the classes
Yeah.
were like mass combat oriented. That's my only theory though.
I have a theory. It might be because, unlike wizards, which traditionally just kind of prefer studying and going in the back, hence why they have a poor base attack bonus, clerics have an average base attack bonus. So that kind of represents that sort of, they're the spontaneous reflection of the devoted and prepared sort instead.
Also, it could be like you're the favorite champion of your chosen deity, and as such, you should be able to have the skills to match such a title.
So my big question is, why on earth did they split up the way that casting is determined? Because this is the problem with the favorite soul.
Yeah. For some reason, charisma determines how these spells they cast per day. That's fair.
Fair enough. I mean, that's how sorcerers operate. No problem there. But my question is, why is wisdom still an element for this? Why do we still use wisdom for spell casting DCs?
That's
If for some reason over the entire course of 3.5, divine casting always needed wisdom no matter what.
I mean, why not just use wisdom or charisma? It's just choose one.
Like if they really wanted like wisdom, they just use wisdom, like period. Like why?
I mean, that's exactly what the Mystic class from Dragonlance campaign setting does.
Oh yeah, that's like a spontaneous like divine caster
But
too.
we're not talking about that right now.
No, we're talking
Yeah.
about something that requires you to both have a good wisdom and charisma, and to a lesser
Man.
degree, either constitution or dexterity, because you either want to be able to take some hits, or you want to be able to hit from the back.
Mad.
I will say one of the more interesting things about the class is that it has all good saving throws.
Oh yes, that's. I was looking at that. It's like it's
It's fairly
That's
rare.
only one other base class gets that. One of the greatest, the monk. Ugh. But yes, it's perfect saves. It's good saves and everything. Leaves it to be. It's something certainly that does advertise very well for this class.
Though I am baffled on why they take so long to get just wings. They just spontaneously grow wings just because.
Why?
Yep, and
Because
then
why
they
not?
slowly become closer to a divine entity over the course of their leveling.
That's
That's
why
why they
they
also gain
eventually get
energy.
some energy resistances. Sorry, I kind of interrupted you on that.
Yeah, the thing is that the wings come way too late. By the time you're level 17, you can either have ways to have fly constantly active or have a magic item that does that for you.
Which, given we just completed a game that ended at Epic right now, we kind of figured that out. What was it? Many levels before 17.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, my character I think had boots of fly by level 12, and she wasn't really going for that. That was just to prevent. It was like one specific situation in the event that they got knocked off the ocean into the ocean and they didn't want to drown, so water, walk, and fly.
Yeah, my character just used my horse for like flying, which could be like done like way earlier.
Otherwise, it does get weapon specializations and focuses, which is okay. But I guess the main attraction of this
I mean,
class.
okay, if you like utter shit, those feats have never been good.
Especially given that your main role is more to serve as, well, a caster, not a marshal. It's not like a cleric where you can kind of go in and do that a bit.
You
Well,
gotta think.
it's
You
not even that.
can,
It's
but
just that the feats themselves have never been good. +1 to attack, and then +2 to damage, which
there's
really isn't much in the long.
I was just gonna say, there's a reason why fighters, I think it takes them until level 15 to actually finally start outpacing barbarians, because of the number of feats they need to specialize in.
Well, they're main feat to even take that long, you have to take a level 18 at minimum.
Also, the class skills for Favorite Soul are minimal. I mean, you get Diplomacy, so it's always nice to have something like that. You also have Jump, which can allow you to do some fancy things there. You have Knowledge Arcana, but no Knowledge Religion, weirdly enough. You'd think they would get that.
Why?
No idea. They do get Spellcraft and Concentration, which are, they make sense. Heal, fair enough. Sense Motive, so you can kind of do a decent Diplomacy gig with this fella.
Its skills seem to be a mixture of what the Sorcerer and Cleric have access to.
It's
With
just
a
they
few
should have
weird
gotten
things like-
Knowledge Religion, too.
Although they get Jump for some reason.
No idea why.
Because why not?
As for the energy resistance, since I did mention that, it's energy resistance up to 10 against a specific type, and you just pick the types. So for your first type, you could choose this to go with standard fire, or lightning, or acid. And you get up to 3 resistances that way.
At that point, it's just like, can't I get a spell for that?
It's basically becoming like a half celestial or half fiend, if you think about it.
But without all the amazing spell-like abilities.
I mean, if the class just lets you choose half, the class would be freaking amazing if you could become a half celestial, half fiend by the end of it.
Well, not both, but one or the other, depending on alignment.
Yeah, the class would be awesome.
That'd be a decent capstone.
I think it would be a decent.
Their capstone's not too bad either. They do get DR10 against everything but silver, or if they're chaotic, it's cold iron. If they're lawful, it's silver. And you can choose either type if you're neutral. I mean, that's not bad. Losing 10 damage per hit's not too bad.
Also, one thing that it can spontaneously cast divine spells, which I guess is the main feature, which is pretty good.
Yeah, you don't have to waste time praying. It does mean your spell pool, because it's kind of the sorcerer's problem. Your spell pool is going to be more limited, though, because you have to select. But again, it does mean you don't have to waste time, praying.
Yep. Especially if you're... you would just have to be, with this class, you'd have to be very understanding about what you want to do with the type of build you want.
Which is similar to Sorcerer. You have to know what you want to do. Only unlike Sorcerer, you can't just go, can I throw fireballs? I want to throw fireballs.
Oh, God.
Can I just light fire?
And we'll get to a class that does this a lot better. It's in this book.
Yeah, and yet despite that, no one will pick it. They'll keep going for Sorcerer for no real reason.
It's that guy class.
Is there any more things to talk about for this Favorite Soul?
No, I have nothing else to say. We should rate it.
Well, you go first, actually.
I view it as decent, because while you have the immediately casting, I kind of feel like the crippling problem is splitting the charisma and the wisdom for your spells. It's like, why do they have to have this borky feature part of the class?
That's the thing. If it didn't have that split, if it was just either pure charisma or pure wisdom, I would actually rate it good. It has a lot of the same draws and drawbacks as a sorcerer, just a divine flavored one.
I guess you could play the class as homebrew it to where it's wisdom or charisma.
If there was some errata that did that, I would rate it as good. But in this book, it's purely decent, just because having to split your assets like that is awful.
Yeah, these ratings are based around draw, or rules as written for those who don't know what it means.
Yeah, I would probably say decent, but on the higher end of decent. But yeah, I think the split of the split between wisdom and charisma kind of cripples it.
Now, I'm gonna be the odd one out. I say, despite the dual casting, I would say it's still good, mostly for having access to the cleric spell list.
Fair enough. Well, also one
I
good
considered
draw.
that, but the only reason was if you're doing, say, 3 in a row down or the 4 and pick the best, if you get a bad result, you're going to have to really struggle to put where you want it. And if you have to put it on either charisma or wisdom, you're crippling your character regardless.
Yeah, that's why I said like high end to decent, because I won't deny like it's more like high
It's
end.
so close to being a good
Yeah.
class, and that's not a denigration. I would happily play this.
It just kind of falls short.
Honestly, if you want to play this class, guys, I'd say just talk to the DM, try to see if it's wisdom or charisma. But out of the box, it's a decent class, but that's not a knock against it. It's
To give you an idea, I rate Barbarian as a decent class, and yet they're still one of the funnest classes to play. Just because something's decent, that just means either there's limitations on it compared to other classes, or it's just kind of pigeonholed into one role.
Yeah, like some decent classes are also good, like foundation classes for like prestige classes, like the Ranger. Like that was rated decent, but it's really good. It's a really good class for a foundation.
Absolutely.
So actually, the next, this is going to be an interesting one. The next class that's actually in the book of miniatures is one that has a bit of an odd history, the Healer.
Yep, do you mind if I take this one?
Oh, sure. To give you an idea, the Diopsid's a pretty big expert on the Healer.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite classes just because, I don't know, there's just something about it, even though I know it's not very good. Basically, the Healer is a worse cleric. It is forced to hyper focus on healing. Of its spell list as listed, it only has 2 spells on its spell list that the cleric doesn't have access to. And even then, both of them can be obtained via the right domains. And that would be the level 1 spell Speak to Animals and the level 9 spell Vision. But one of the more interesting things on top of that is most of its healing spells are a spell level lower than what a cleric would get them at, including getting Mass Heal as a level 8 spell.
On top of that, it also has special abilities, supernatural or spell-like abilities, which allow them to casually treat certain things like paralysis, disease, and poisons without wasting a spell slot.
Yep. The another I know I keep using the word interesting, but it's a fairly unique class. It grants you a unicorn companion at level 8. This gives you an access to a small amount of spell-like abilities, including a constantly radiating magic circle against evil. While it has a duration similar to a paladin's mount for how long it can be out, at higher levels you can have it around 24/7. The best part is that, similar to a druid animal companion, you can swap out your unicorn for an enhanced creature, and that's where things get interesting. You can, at level 12, you can swap it out either for a variety of sphinxes, which get spell-like abilities, or you can get a Lamassu, which is a outsider that looks like a lion with wings and an old man face.
If you've ever seen the there's a lot of statues of them from the Babylonian Empire. I'll even show a picture of what they're supposed to look like.
Yep. Well, anyways, this creature can cast spells as a level 7 cleric, complete with domains. So you got access to level 1 through 4 cleric spells with this.
Pretty nice.
Yep, at level 16, if you want to, you can swap it out for another type of Sphinx, or a Quaddle, which can cast as a level 9 sorcerer whose spell list also includes all cleric spells and spells from 3 specific domains.
Which is pretty similar to a very specific class that is somewhere within the mire, and it's amazingly broken.
Oh boy. That's a ways away, though.
Yeah. I mean, still, a Quaddle's pretty powerful, given you can fling up to level 5 sorcerer and cleric spells. And sorcerer spells are wizard spells.
Now, its spell list is pretty awful. It pretty much has everything that is healing based. It gets a few buffs, but it also is picky. Like, you can get protection from good, and its most upgraded version, Holy Aura, but it cannot get Magic Circle against evil because there is technically an offensive option for it, where you can use it to trap a creature from an outer plane. They
And-
didn't want the only things that the healer has as offensive options on its main spell list are Calm Emotions, if you consider ending the battle passively as offensive, and Gate to, well, if you spend a lot of experience, summon a creature.
At least that's what the Miniatures Handbook iteration of healer has.
Yep. Well, luckily, there are 4 books that really helped it out, one of which is only minor, so I'm going to go get through that one first.
Before you
Here-
do, though, to give you an idea, the healer is one of 2 casters that were not originally in the player's handbook that kept getting expansions. Which is very interesting because not even because that most of the time when a new class or a new prestige class is made, they're stuck with what they got in that book.
Yep.
This and the
Like-
Woojin are the only 2 that actually get more.
Yep. Like, the most minor one would have to be Heroes of Battle, which was unique in that it gave a lot of spells to classes that don't normally get spells from other books, usually just 1 or 2, but in this case it got Greater Status, which is a better version of the core status spell. It gets to a spell level higher than Cleric for some reason, though. And then there is a spell Compendium, which gives you a lot of spells via its pull up its text. It's very specific, at the same time very vague, but since it's been around for years, people have figured out what spells they're referring to.
But in many ways, getting back to topic, the healer is you have to understand you're gonna be incredibly pigeonholed.
Yeah, you're the ultimate heal bot.
Which, if you're not a fan of, you're not going to enjoy this class, although there is a way to get around it. And that involves using the Book of Exalted Deeds.
And Complete Champion.
You have to use both of these, and this is the only way you can actually get a somewhat offensive healer.
Yeah, you have to pretty much use sanctified spells. Well, granted, a lot of them have physical drain. I say one of the more reliable ones, at least for the first half of the levels, is Diamond Spray, because instead of draining your stats, you have to expend 100 gold worth of diamond dust.
Which is
And it's an
expensive, but
AoE
doable.
Yep, and not to mention it's an AoE damage spell that ignores non-evil creatures.
Which is very, very nice if your party is at least neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will state that technically this does make it so that you cannot use that build in you can't really use that build if you're doing Adventurers League, because Adventurers Leagues always have a limitation of 2 books for a build.
Here it is. I found it. Healer, Miniatures Handbook. From Spell Compendium. Add spells concerned with healing, removing affliction, providing protections, and providing for needs. In particular, add higher level versions of spells the healer can already cast, such as Mass Restoration. Now, the area in particular that increases its toolkit is providing protections, where it suddenly has a very wide option of buff spells that it didn't originally have.
Which is, again, why it's one of 2 classes that actually does get better as the series goes on. Because it's interesting, because do we rate this by the book, or do we rate it by its final evolution?
Well, considering how our player's handbook, we brought up a lot of non-core stuff in order to how good a class is.
Which means that at its inception, I would have rated the healer as merely playable. Almost not garbage, because there's enough there that it's not terrible.
And, its healing is still useful. You're still useful.
Absolutely.
Although it comes close to NPC at times too, because you're just there.
I will say that it does have a pretty nice capstone. I should at least bring that up.
Oh yeah, you
Once
get a
a
free true
Yep.
resurrection.
Yep, once a week, True Resurrection has a spell-like ability. Because it's a spell-like ability, it takes a standard action regardless of what its original casting time is. And it also doesn't cost any material components at all.
So it's completely free, and you don't have to worry at all about EXP. And that's why when you include the other stuff it does get, though, for me, it spikes up from playable to actually decent. You do have to know how to build it, and there's only a little bit you can do. But if you're into the mood of just kind of assisting everyone else, and your goal is to not actually fight that much, it's a good class for that.
Yep, as much as I love this class, I'm going to have to agree. Because outside of its spells problems, it also has the obvious downside that due to lacking both turn undead and domains, it cannot qualify for a lot of the better healing feats out there.
It also kills a lot of it's a divine caster. No divine meta. The divine meta magic doesn't work for it because you usually burn you burn turns for that.
Yep.
The class is decent for me because while you can only do one thing, which is kind of a bummer, you're going to do it extraordinarily well. And I'm sure that any party that's going to have your character is going to really appreciate your support.
Oh yeah, getting heal spells a level below what you usually get is very nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a welcome addition to like a party, but I would also say it's decent just because you're pigeonholed, but what you do it well.
By the way, one more thing about the healer. You actually can also have it summon a water naga, but that only works if you're in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, you mean you can have it as its healer companion? Yep. It gets as a level 7 sorcerer. Yeah, having access to a little dab of a second spell list is also really nice.
You know what's not really nice? Our next class.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
I'm getting numb flashbacks because I played one.
So
No.
Yeah, no. You should tell the reason why you chose this class, by the way.
no, we need to explain that the best way to describe this class, at least from a person, not the Diopsid, there was another person that the Diopsid wants to who played this class. Didn't he describe it as almost like not existing as a person?
Yeah, you pretty much just stand in place and let your allies get buffs. But while you yourself benefit from the buffs, you really don't have the chassis or the actual class features in order to take full advantage of them compared to your party members.
The class we're talking about is the Marshal. And I like to call it the... this is the only class I've never seen anyone ever get remotely close to finishing. Even in an epic 6 game, I've never seen it get finished.
Oh God.
Yeah, you're just a lump.
I mean,
okay, so Marshals, what they do is they get a variety of pretty useful bumps. They get what are called auras, which amplify the combat prowess of people that are around them.
On paper, it sounds good.
Because, yeah, everyone gets it, including the person that's using the auras.
Yeah.
But here's some problems. Number 1, you get an average base attack bonus. You're a martial character that hits about as hard as a cleric, which means you're less likely to actually do much. Mainly because
I like
you're
the fact
missing
you're
more
named.
often.
I like the fact
Yeah.
you're named to Marshall, but yet you only have average base attack. It's like, what kind of?
Well, to be fair, it's spelled differently at least.
You
Yeah,
get the
like-
point, though. You have Marshall in your fucking name, and yet you can't.
So problem number 2, in its chassis, it has 2 good saves in the form of Fort and Will, but its hit die is D8, making it similar to a cleric. That's not good. D8 is for a frontliner, kind of the low end of what you want.
Yep. To give you an idea, it has the auras are divided into 2 classes, a major aura and minor aura. Minor aura are a lot more situational in their application, but how much they buff something by is equal to your charisma bonus. So it's really easy to cheese them up to be really high. Major auras, however, are a lot more universally good, but they are stuck with a very slow scaling up to a maximum of +4 at level 20.
So they start weaker, but they get okay near the end. While with minors, if you know how to cheese it, you can get some pretty neat stuff, like demanding fortitude. Basically, you can add up to, say, starting out about a +4 to fort saves, which is pretty good. But then again,
You're assuming someone is lucky enough to get an 18.
Yes, and there's also the matter that you still are basically just a cleric that can't cast magic.
Which is a big
Yeah.
problem. Like, I mean, its chassis would be all right if it had access to spells, but
If it
that's
had
a
full base
Something-
attack and at least a D10 in terms of hit points, hit die.
Just give it like some role that's a little more active.
What I'm
in
trying to say
addition
is
its
you rip
passive
the
stuff.
fighter off. You rip the fighter
Yep.
off, and then you just replace what it gets with this.
The funny thing is that with its skills and the bonus feat it gets level 1, it's supposed to be the face of sorts. It gets a lot of the social skills as class skills and gets skill focused diplomacy at level 1.
And not only
Also-
that, but they get bluff, which is one of the most powerful of all of the skills because of how many things it synergizes with.
Yep, and they have 4+ int modifier skill points in order
Which
to
is
try
pretty
to.
good.
I mean, there many ways. I think a lot of the critical flaws of this class come from the fact that it was clearly meant for the Miniatures Handbook.
Well, not only that, but it's clear it's meant to be a martial, but it's fighting like a cleric. And a cleric can fix that if they have the war domain.
Well, they get access to spells even without the war domain.
Oh yeah, level 4. Level 4 spells, I mean, not level 4 itself. Once a cleric reaches level 7, they get rid of that problem. The martial forever has it. It is forever cucked.
God,
I
is there?
I should point out that it does have some expansions and splat books, but let's see how to describe them. One thing I should point out before I talk about them is that they have one last class feature, which is grant move action once a day, which they can get up to 5 of by level 20, where they can use a standard action to let all of their allies within a certain area get a free move action outside of their initiative.
Thus fucking themselves out of, say, attacking an enemy.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe Marshall was only intended for like mass combat, which
Yep.
is what the Miniatures Handbook
Well,
was.
here's the first. They have a variant and an alternate class feature. The alternate class feature removes their move action ability to give you a very shitty amount of bonus HP equal to twice your martial level.
Whoa, you're really going to be breaking the game at that.
Yep. And the second is replacing your auras with the battle auras from Hero of Battle.
I don't even know if that's good or
Yep.
bad.
They're pretty bad. There's even
They're
more
actually worse.
They're even more situational than the minor auras, and they have a static buff, usually of +1 or +2, that cannot increase further under any circumstance.
You know, if I was gonna write an expansion for the martial, I'd just be like, oh no, there's some errata in the Miniatures Handbook. It was supposed to have full base attack. But no. It's basically just a cleric that has no magic, and one of its best abilities, the ability to have everyone move around again, forces it to just stand there like a lump. Or I can move, but it just, it exists. And the best way to describe the martial is when the Diopsid finally gave up on it, nearly breaking down into tears.
It wasn't tears. It's tears of laughter, though, because my character got killed off, and at their funeral, they
He
referred
died
to
in the
him.
Thanos copter explosion.
They referred to him as ever present, which is just a fancy way of saying our group in joke of he was there.
Well, basically, the Diopsid lost the will to live and had his character commit suicide, so he didn't have to.
My name's the Diopsin. I kill myself so you don't have to.
No, my name is Chief Wallflower, and I kill myself so my creator doesn't have to.
I mean, at least his last name was accurate.
Yeah, it was.
That
fitting.
wasn't even his last name, if I remember right.
I don't care or don't know. I just,
don't
that's
know.
what I called him.
I don't care.
It
don't
eventually
know.
became just like no one remembered because just he was there. The only thing he knew how to do, the only thing that the chief committed to the game was he knew how to drive.
Yep.
That was it.
He could do that very well, though.
He's an excellent driver.
That's because he rolled really well.
He was a chauffeur. He was basically like our chauffeur.
It was like driving Miss Daisy, but instead of an old racist white woman, it's a cat man with a sword.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking Oscar nomination. It ends. It ends tragically when the actor commits
Alternatively,
suicide.
it's like it's like the Green Hornet. Only instead of being played by Bruce Lee, I'm played by Don DeLuise.
Oh God.
No, you're played by that one delusional guy from Get Even.
Oh God.
Oh no,
Because Dom DeLuise at least has screen presence.
that's true.
This
Anyway,
class
any-
class is NPC. If we have to explain this, then you're a fucking moron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unabashedly NPC. I would rate it if I didn't if I had to give it a rating that wasn't that garbage. Not because of the bonuses it gives, but just as the experience that you have.
I would say NPC, but I'm actually almost like it's almost like borderline true name, or just because of how soul crushing it is.
The only reason I can't rate it that bad is because it actually does actively improve the party's composition. It's just you're not gonna enjoy any of that. Fuck, you might as well just go on your phone if you bring this to a group.
Yeah,
Yep.
or just maybe take a nap.
Move your mini on an area of the map that will let your aura target the
Oh!
most party members and just do whatever.
Oh, you can be a Devani, so
Oh,
you
this
can
is
have
the
a range.
This is the perfect class. I figured it out. This is the perfect class for people who are legally dead but are still strapped to life support.
Oh my God.
But
Like let's say Crazy Jimmy gets in a car accident and he's rendered brain dead, but like his one wish is to complete the campaign with his friends, so they just create a fucking marshal and just there you go.
yeah, but with the Devani Marshal, you can your aura can have more range because there's two bodies.
That's twice as much sitting doing nothing.
Yeah.
I have the perfect image for that. I'm going to
Easier
need two
to die
guns for this.
Easier to die horribly too, due to the weaknesses of the Devani race.
No,
Yeah,
that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, those who have never heard of the Devati, it's a very odd race that I forget which book it's in. It's in the same book as I think the Diopsids are in that book.
It's Dragon Compendium Volume 1.
Yeah, Dragon
A book
Compendium
we'll
Volume
eventually
1.
get to.
Eventually. But no, the fucking Marshall's garbage. Let's get to something good. Let's get to the War Mage. This is the true
Yeah.
Blastcaster.
Oh, this one now. This is what we're talking about.
Now you're
Yep.
cooking with gas, literally. The War Mage is a spontaneous caster that focuses not solely on evocation, but it specializes on evocation spells. It's similar to the Beguiler and Dread Necromancer in that they mastered that skill. They spontaneously can cast it very casually. And in this case, these are the guys that if you just want to fling damage, here you go. You actually get a slightly different list than if you were a sorcerer because of that.
War Mage, on top of the previously mentioned Beguiler and Dread Necromancer, have a weird thing where they are spontaneous casters that have access to their entire class's spell list.
At the beginning.
in order to curb this, however, their spell list is extremely narrow and single-minded in its focus. But all three do have the perk of having a class ability called Advanced Learning, where every few levels they can add a spell of their specialty school from the Wizard, Sorcerer, spell list, or the Dread Necromancer's case Cleric, and add it to their spell list permanently.
Which allows for, if let's say for example you want a little more variety, you can pick a spell or two to help with that. Like if you're a war mage that wants to do a little bit of zone control, you can pick up something like Impeding Stones.
No, that's not from the Wizard, Sorcerer.
No,
spell.
it's the web.
Also, one thing that's a great thing that you didn't mention is that you can wear up to medium armor in this class too.
I should point out, since you normally can only pick evocation spells, there is an alternate class feature that allows you to pick spells from any school on the Wizard Sorcerer list, but they have to be a spell level lower than the highest level spell you can cast.
Which is not bad because a lot of the lower level spells still have some good gas in them.
Also, this is a class that you can use. This is one of the 3 classes that you can use to cheese a certain prestige class.
It's probably not one of the actually no, it's one of the better options for it. But I know what you're talking about. But you did mention that they are ones that can actually wear armor. They can wear up to medium armor, which admittedly is situational.
Well, if you're wearing mithril full plate, you can wear full plate. You can go as a full plate caster.
You could go as a full plate caster, or the more bullshit option is to go with a suit of with a chain shirt with a Dastana, which provides the same protection bonus as a shield, and then just amplify, and then you just augment the shit out of that with magic. You can get nearly the same effect as wearing mithril heavy armor as that. And better yet, you can go even more horseshit because then you can use materials such as adamantine, obdurium, or even some of the more nonsense obscure stuff like...
Just so you know, for those who are unaware, Dastana is a weird accessory for armor that originates from Oriental adventures that, with how it works, it completely invalidates the entire existence of medium and heavy armor.
Oh, yeah.
It's so horseshit. Technically, by the way, if you do mithril chain shirts and mithril Dastana, arcane spell chance, what dat? Failure chance, what dat? What dat? I don't understand. Which makes it a little less useful for a war mage, but you still have the protection bonuses of heavy armor.
Also, the thing is, a lot of the blast casting you get a hold of, is very nice. You get some very nice spells. You get some very nice spells along with it.
Yep, so some good spells you get out of that includes Implosion, which is always a very disastrous thing. You get Prismatic Spray, which is one of my favorite level 7 spells. Chain Lightning, which is always very fun. Fire Seeds.
Arc of Lightning is one of my favorite spells that can be found on the Druid spell list.
Yep, and the War Mage gets that.
You get Kelkor's Firebolt,
which is the better fireball attack. And you get things like Flaming Sphere, and on top of that, you do get to pick spells outside of that with Advanced Learning, and you get several spells that way.
Also, you have a pretty decent for a caster. You have a pretty decent You have a pretty decent health at D6.
That's a decent bit better than a standard wizard, for example. It's basically around the rogues level.
Yeah, this class is actually one of the better classes if you want if you're doing an E6 game.
I would also say that out of the 3 kind of specialist school spontaneous casters, I would say that the War Mage is the best out of the 3. Because the Beguiler has a big dead zone where they just struggle. And then the Dread Necromancer...
Well, both have
It's a little bit it's better than that, but still.
Well, the thing is with all these other casters that their situation... This is the least it's the least situational, depending on the campaign you're in.
But at the same time, it also focuses on what many consider one of the worst schools of magic. For those unaware, a lot of people consider dealing HP damage as a caster to be one of the most turn-wasting things you can do as a caster, when there are so many ways you can end a battle without having to slowly pick at a boss's health.
Baleful Polymorph, Power Word Kill, Disintegrate, Implosion. You name something.
I will say that in an E6 game, it'd be best to keep the original advanced learning where you have to pick evocation spells. Just that way you actually can get some decent options. And as a level 3 spell, they can get Ice Storm, which is normally level 4.
Yeah, that's
Ice
yeah. But yeah,
Ice Storm deals 5d6 damage with no saving throw. Considering that most of the best damage spells in E6 deal 66 damage with a saving throw, you're more often than not going to do more damage with it.
yeah, that's what I was like kind of thinking why it would be good for an E6 game.
And on top of that, again, this is why I think that if you're going to just want to do the damage die pull, this is the better option than Sorcerer. Yes,
Yep.
you have a lot less choice because your spell list is already set for you. But
Yep.
that's what advanced learning's for if you want something a little bit different or you have a certain list that you like.
And also an E6 sorcerer's kind of shit because they only get one level 3 spell known.
Yeah, well, this guy has a little more variety.
Ultimately, I'm going to rate the War Mage as good. Now, it's very good. Good in the sense that you're going to become perhaps the best damage dealer, perhaps the best damage dealer in the party. Now, granted, it's almost decent for me due to the fact you're locked into doing damage, but the fact is that the fact that you can do a lot of zone control is something that cannot be underestimated.
For me, I'll rate it as good, and it gets this mainly because of its armored mage feat. Admittedly, there are arcane casters that can get away with armor just fine, but this early in D&D, it was pretty rare to be able to pull that off, and to have the same evocation damage spring as a sorcerer, and actually better because you get more slots earlier.
I would also say good because it does its job as
Well,
like
not
a
slots.
blast.
Sorry, I meant spells.
I rate it as goods just because it does its job like well as for what it is meant to do, and I also like the armored mage thing it has going for it.
That's what
And
takes it out of decent for
Um,
me. I would consider
oh
all of
yeah,
the.
I am actually going to say it's simply decent because over the course of the edition, it became not very hard to get light armor on pretty much any arcane caster with the right enchantments. And so making armored mage kind of useless, and not to mention you're pigeonholed in one of the most worthless things you can do when you have access to casting.
I raised
which-
you, Beguiler. That's the other reason.
Oh boy.
yeah, Beguiler. I feel like yeah.
You're
we'll
probably
talk-
being the most objective, but I would say because it's at the time of the three kind of school specialists, it's kind of the most friendly to beginners, and it just has that extra armor that those guys don't have. It doesn't have that big dead zone that Beguiler has for a long time.
I will say though that it becomes significantly more useful if you take the alternate class feature to change its advanced learning.
That said, there's no, it's a good option to have, especially if you just want to fling fireballs. You want to do that, this is the class.
Not only that, a party will welcome you. A party will welcome you for this.
Oh boy.
Not if they're models, they'll take their one job.
Anyways, we're getting on to the prestige classes.
Which is usually when people do ratings or analyze prestige classes, they don't really do it that often, mainly because, well, it's usually just quick dips. They rate them on that if they do at all. And if they don't, it's really just kind of a case of, does it inhibit the original build? They're not kind of rated on their full build. if you get what I mean.
Because there are quite a few classes that become significantly better if you only take the first 1 or 2 levels.
Oh, there's quite a few of them. The ones that are most guilty of that are usually if it's a class that does have spellcasting, but it only has partial levels of spellcasting. Sometimes it might be better just to take a couple dips, especially if based on where the advanced level caster level is. You might want to duck out before then, or it might have an ability that after you get it, it's just not worth continuing because it's just early in the build.
But oh boy, we're not doing this. We're rating these classes for as their whole. How
As
if
the
you were
whole, yep. And
sometimes
oh boy, Mini's Handbook has a lot of really shitty prestige classes.
the only hole is the asshole that made it.
So we're starting with Bonded Summoner, which is something there might be someone that actually likes Bonded Summoner, but it's oh god. See, certain arcane prestige classes have have this thing where they don't advance your caster level or don't advance the number of spells you know. Bonded Summoner is one that actually doesn't advance for half of the time. It actually does not have 5 out of the 10 levels that you get of it, you only advance 5 times, which forever fucks you out of level 9 spells. Also fucks you out of level 8 depending on what you enter in as too. To kind of make up for it though, it does have your familiar becomes an elemental companion. It kind of becomes a companion cohort sort of animal sort of setup, only it's an elemental. And it proceeds to get bigger and more powerful the further you go into it. You start off with a medium-sized elemental, and you get up to Elder Elemental. The problem with that is that usually, if you just stuck with a caster, you could just summon one if you felt like it. You might be able to get it a level or 2 early compared to the standard caster, but you also get those spells a little bit earlier since, you know, you're not forsaking 5 spell casting levels. They do gain energy resistance types. And actually, they do become immune to critical hit. They basically become elementals at the end, which isn't a bad capstone. It's just, why do that when you can cast level 9 spells, which are some of the most potent and nasty available? As for requirements, this is something that I should have brought up earlier. All prestige classes have a requirement. And prestige classes will usually rate, at least to some degree, on how easy it is to enter into as any class. Not any class, but as the class that is most likely to be the one that you enter it in as. So for a Bonded Summoner, that would probably be a Wizard or a Sorcerer or hell, even a War Mage. And for that, you would need knowledge. You would need 8 ranks of Knowledge of the Planes. You would need to speak one of the elemental languages. You only need to be able to cast 2nd level arcane spells, and you have to have a familiar because, well, your familiar gets replaced by this. So technically, you can enter in this as early as level 6.
But would you? I mean, one critical problem is that your casting only advances by half by
To
it.
give you an idea on how this fucks you, when you take your first level of Bonded Sorcerer, Bonded Elemental, or whatever the hell I call it, Bonded Summoner, you fuck yourself out of level 4 spells.
I thought you said the bondage
The
summoner.
Bondage Summoner. No, that's the thing that summons the Gimp Golem.
You might as well be summoning the Gimp Golem with this class.
Yeah, you gimp yourself.
Seriously, if you just took the next level as, say, a Wizard, you would just pick your level 4 spells, which is already instantly better than just picking this. And it's even worse if you're a Sorcerer or, say, a War Mage or a Beguiler, because that's another level you're fucking yourself out of. Although it might help a Beguiler, who knows? Maybe the Beguiler having an elemental companion might actually help them a bit. because but at the same time, that also fucks them because that stretches out that dead zone.
Ugh.
And they do get some pretty amazing level 9 spells like Time Stop.
Oh yeah, but
And you don't get that if you pick this.
like the one thing is, if you're ever going to choose a prestige class that doesn't advance you to level 9, it damn better well get really good abilities.
Yeah, it has to make up for it, and this one doesn't.
Losing any spell slots up to level 9 is a really big deficiency.
And this loses all of level 9 slots, and I think it seriously threatens your level 8 slots too.
It might even lose your level 8 ones, depending on the certain classes.
Well, yeah, you do if you specifically get it in a spontaneous caster, which get level 8 spells to level
So
6.
if you're a sorcerer, you get double fucked.
So, yeah, this is pretty trash.
This is garbage.
Yeah, I say it's garbage. I just I can't get over the fact that like you lose your level 9 spells like that's and it does nothing to make up for it.
Yep, it's complete garbo.
You know that the bonded summoner is horrible when they show a purple dragon knight to kind of go, no, don't worry, guys. Look at this instead of this pain.
Speaking of dragon,
Oh yeah, Dragon Samurai is up next. So, Dragon Samurais. The way they work is to become a Dragon Samurai, you have to have a base attack bonus of 5, at least 2 ranks of Knowledge Arcana. You must have no experience as a Dragon Samurai of a different clan for some reason. And you have to have an alignment based on the color of the clan that you're going to join in. So, like, if you're neutral good, you'd have to be either part of the Brass or Copper clan. Well, if you want to be a black, red, or white, you have to be like chaotic neutral or neutral evil, because it's based partially on the dragons that their clan colors are based on. All in all, getting into this class isn't that hard. And besides the fact that you kind of have to, I would say maybe as like a marshal, this is kind of the logic for it. But
Probably was.
The issue is that you have to waste like 4 skill points to get the Knowledge Arcana. Which, I mean, if you cross class, that's a bit of an inconvenience.
But
yeah.
what do you get instead? What do you get for all this investment?
Well, for one thing, you gain your own type of dragon breath. For
Which
example,
I guess is nice.
And but it is based on the clan. So depending on your alignment, you will either get lines or cones of either acid, lightning, gas, and fire and cold. So, like, let's say you're part of the black clan because you're chaotic neutral or neutral evil. You can spew a line of acid. And the way that works is it works similar to most breath weapons. It deals 1d8 points of damage per class level, so it does eventually do up to 10d8. The reflex save DC for it is 10 plus the Dragon Samurai's class level plus their con modifier. So again, it does favor marshals. And if you already have a breath weapon, because some people do actually set themselves up to have a breath weapon of sorts already. Like if you're a half dragon, for example.
Yeah, but that you got to eat a bunch of level adjustment for that.
Yeah. But you do gain. I think you just get to add the breath weapon to the damage to that. You also eventually gain. You also start with a resistance to energy of 5, involving the same energy type as your breath weapon. So you can be immune. Not immune, but you can shrug off damage from acid, electricity, fire, or cold. But only of that type. Which, I mean, for a marshal, still not bad. Next level, you get Dragon Friend. This is very situational. Basically, a Dragon Samurai will get a +4 circumstance bonus on all charisma-based checks when dealing with dragons of his clan's color. Very situational, since if you're negotiating with a dragon, especially since at the time you get this, you're at level 7, you probably fucked up. You probably fucked up and you're gonna die. On the bright side, at the next level, you get immune to dragon fear, so the fear effects of any dragon that's over a certain age, which I think is like juvenile, not juvenile, but like above that, young adult. I think that's when the fear effect starts coming in. You basically ignore it.
Which is really nice.
It's only of their clan color, though, which makes it a lot less nice.
Yeah.
Then, at 4th level, your weapon, you can imbue your weapon with elemental energy, which treats the weapon as an elemental attack of the same type as your breath weapon, so you can make your sword or spear ooze acid, or fire, or ice. And it's a free action, so you can actually do this before you attack, which is pretty cool. And at 4th level, and you gain up to an extra 2d6 damage this way. For Dragon Ride, you get Dragon Ride eventually, which allows you to start riding a dragon. +4 on that. And then you gain the Blind Fight as a bonus feat.
Yeah, but you have to get the dragon yourself.
For the dragon itself. I mean, for dragon riding, but the blind fighting, though. And its capstone's not bad. You get a resistance to the personal energy that you emit as 20. And for a martial, this isn't too bad.
I mean, this is early on, mind you, so...
The big weakness that it has average base attack bonus improvement.
Which is kind of shitty.
It's a little bit sad, yes.
I'm honest, I'm gonna rate this garbage.
I'm gonna rate it.
Like, I can't imagine any class that would be better off taking this prestige class.
The martial.
The fighter.
I don't think that would help at all.
Hey, look on the bright side.
It take your only decent class features and nerf them to hell and back.
Well, look on the bright side.
But you hated those class features.
Yeah, but you're basically just combining shit with more shit.
At least
so
it isn't like...
You become terrible at 2 things instead of terrible at 1 thing.
But you can do 18. You can do 10d8 acid damage.
Wow, 10d8 acid damage.
That's more than a martial can do in an entire fight.
That's more. I feel like that should be a quote right there.
At least, as I was saying, at least it isn't as bad as like the basic bitch samurai.
Oh boy!
That's
oh
not
boy!
Hard. That's not hard.
Yeah, I was just saying something. I'd probably rate it as garbage. Maybe like borderline playable, but
yeah,
that's just pushing it.
Because the other thing is that it's best thing. Its breath is only usable once per day. That is just awful.
Oh, it's only one a day?
One a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's only one a day. What the fuck? Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, so does that change your rating?
Yeah, no.
What, you thought they'd actually willingly give you the normal dragon's breath that can be used every 1d4 round?
Oh, shit!
So, that's 3 garbages.
Oh boy, it looks like...
I'm almost willing to put this as playable. Almost, because in certain cases, like fighter... No, it's too situational.
No, like...
Basically, all of its bonuses are way too fucking situational.
Like, when I heard, like, you could only use, like, the breath attack, like, once a day,
yeah.
like, that just, like, sealed it. It's garbo.
That's just really
I almost
shitty.
want to rate it playable, but no, again, you're right. If it was more like you gain more uses of it per day as you progress, and this is the big problem with it, all of its bonuses only relate to dragons of its fucking color.
Like, why?
Even then, head bonuses, the energy resistance 20 is, pretty nice in terms of how much
But
energy.
it's only on that one type.
Yep, but the elemental weapon, wowee, 2d6 damage.
Fuck,
Let's
you can just
see.
enchant it with any. You could do that yourself just by using the magic item compendium.
Yeah, like to give you an idea, by the time you get energy resistance 20, you're like minimum level 15.
I spent all that time selling it up, and then I missed the one thing that really makes it shit. I forgot. I thought maybe you got more uses of it per day as you progress. Nope. Of course not. That would actually make a decent prestige class if you could say get up to like 3 times a day.
Or once per encounter. It's per encounter.
Or maybe its bonuses like ignoring fear for dragons only applies to their color because that is their lord.
What?
Well, no, think about it. Like maybe like you show contempt to other dragons that are not your color.
Yeah.
Like you're a black samurai and you're laughing at the red dragon because fuck it. But if you ran into a black dragon, it would affect you because holy shit, this is my daimyo equivalent. This is my higher up. That would have been more interesting. Yeah. Or maybe if the energy resistance was towards the different colors. So like, let's say again, I'm using black samurai. Let's say you're not immune to acid, but you are immune to the other. Oh, not immune, but resistant to the other types.
So you thought it would take longer? Why not the class that could enter this without taking cross-class ranks? Monk.
Oh God.
That actually explains a lot because they show a monk right there.
Yeah.
You probably. Oh my God.
Anyways.
Well, that was disappointing. I was actually thinking for a second that this might have been above garbage. Oh, it's this asshole. Hi, Havoc Mage. I fucking hate you.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
That's sorry excuse for a gish.
The best way to describe this... Oh my God.
I like how you sound like you're really straining to talk about this class.
So, the first time I ever did an analysis was in written form. And the first book I actually ever wrote about was the Book of Vile Darkness. There was a class in there I absolutely fucking hate called the Warrior of Darkness. I fucking hate that one so much. There's only one class I hate more than it. It's called the Blood Magus. But Havoc Mage is easily number 3 because it reminds me way too much of Warrior of Darkness.
Warrior of Darkness sounds like a shitty PS1 title.
No, it doesn't sound like a PS1 title. It sounds like a very shitty game I'd get on the SNES. Like it's from a company that's about to go bankrupt trying to rip off either Squaresoft or Enix. It's the game they make right before they go under. Just like 4 months after, no, not 4 months, 2 weeks after the game is released to massive flop audiences, the company goes bankrupt.
It's basically Jake and the 99 Dragons.
So the way the Havoc Mage works is it attempts to try to make it so that you can fight in combat. Like, let's say you're a wizard and you're like, I want to kind of gish. I want to kind of be able to get into combat and fight. But everything it does is wrong. Number 1, its base attack bonus is only average. Number 2, it has a thing called Battle Cast. Basically, you can cast spells of a certain level or lower while making a weapon attack. It's a full round action to attack and then cast a spell. And the spell has to be 2nd level or lower. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some good level 1 and 2 spells to use in a fight, but no. God, no. It allegedly is supposed to be better because you don't have to worry about... You see, Magic kind of has its own components like verbal and somatic is where you move. You don't have to do the movement. You don't have to do the hokey pokey to cast Fireball. You just have to hit people with stick. But
instead, this class crushes cock with rock.
You lose 2 spellcasting levels out of the 5 you have to go through. and it really it allows you to cast battle cast spells of 8th level or lower, but that's because you fucking lose 9th level, depending on what you enter it in as. You don't really. Do you even get a 3rd attack just by taking this?
I don't think you do.
You might, because you go for average for a little bit. No, you fucking don't. You fucking don't. You fucking don't, which destroys any reason you'd ever fucking do this.
Oh no!
Nothing about this is good.
This is a train wreck.
God, and you lose all the knowledges that you would have had if you just fucking stayed a wizard. And on top of that, it's really easy to fall for this. Base attack bonus of, oh wait, no, +4. So you have to go pretty goddamn far down your wizard or your sorcerer path before you have a cranial injury.
Yep, you have to be at least level 8. So they actually are expecting you to multi-class fighter wizard in order to get the base attack bonus earlier.
Oh god. Oh no.
Don't you still have like arcane failure chance?
Yes,
You
I
do.
don't think it fixed it.
Yep.
You do.
It doesn't
And you
fix
can't wear armor.
What? I thought that was the whole point of the thing.
Squishy! Holy shit! So you're like still like you're like squishy. Like you should be in the front line.
It gets even better than that. Oh wait, no, no. They tried to fix it because they give you a bigger hit die. D8.
That's really gonna.
D8.
That's really gonna
Yeah.
fix things. And
Especially in the 5-level class.
Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna. 1 second. I need to replace my potation of choice. Yes, I'm getting some actual. I'm gonna augment my Mountain Dew with something a little more strong, if you get what I mean.
Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Lee OOZ.
Okay. I now have the alcohol to mix in with this Mountain Dew.
So
Let's
what would you?
continue.
So are we ready to rate it?
I wish I could fucking honestly rate this True Namer.
Yeah, it's kind
I
of
wish I could
borderline.
honestly.
it's
Yeah,
almost.
it's really not true mainers
It's
here because
straight up garbage.
Yeah,
This
it's on the lower end of garbage. Like honestly, like why would you want to do this if you were gonna be a Gish? Like just play Duskblade or like just some other. There's
There-
other ways to do
In the
it.
Dungeon Master's Guide, they actually have a prototype. I forget the name. Arcane. What was it? What was the name? There's a prestige class in the Dungeon Master's Guide that was kind of the prototypical for it. You only lost. I think you only lost like 1 caster level if you picked it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But
It's
yeah.
bog standard, but it's far
But
better.
yeah,
fucking
there's
choice.
there's so many other ways if you want to be a Gish though.
Mystic Ranger,
Yeah.
Sewell Arcanamac. That's an actual way you can do it.
like you know its whole thing about being able to make a single attack and then cast the spell as a full round action. That means you like why would you not just simply cast that same spell and then have a move action?
Because
Is one attack really going to make that big of a difference?
Very well. You don't know.
Because I don't fucking know. I wish I could rate this True Namer, but no.
It's not quite that, but
The
it's
person who-
definitely
The person who fucking plays it's a True Namer.
I would say it's on the lower end of garbage. Like not quite True Namer, but like on the lower end of garbage.
The Diopsid was right. The way they're expecting you to fucking play this is if you alternate between fighter and wizard each level.
Oh God.
but somehow still get access to level 8 spells to get that capstone.
They're delusional.
They're assholes. No, they're assholes for doing this.
No, the assholes are the people who made the next prestige class, which aren't as bad, but what type of retard takes a rogue into a zombie infested dungeon? Because that's what the Skull Clan Hunter is.
Well, I hate that. Well, I hate the undead. I want to stab them right in the back.
That's literally the motivation of how this class came to be. Rogues just got so ass mad that they couldn't sneak attack undead that they just made a new prestige class that's worse in every way.
I'll make a greater rogue class with cocaine and hookers and blackjack.
Hey Al, you like the rogues because of their skill monkey nature. So would you waste 8 skill points on knowledge religion?
Why?
Because
Purpose doesn't serve.
You need 8 ranks of knowledge religion to even.
Do I need to know that? I need 8 knowledge just to know that undead are assholes? No.
No, you don't even.
You've heard the best part. Rogues don't even get knowledge religion.
So it's more like 16 of your precious skill points.
Ugh.
I thought they did because they do get a lot of skills.
Once again, that requires that's for 16 skill points. That requires a minimum level of 13, which means once again they expect you to multi-class because it also says a special able to turn undead. They expect you to be a rogue cleric multi-class. You know, it doesn't advance spellcasting at all.
Why?
And also, this is important because of your rogue levels and this prestige class. Your turn undead is so pathetic, you can barely even turn like a skeleton ogre.
What kind of drugs were they smoking in this class?
Plus, like, what if you don't play in an undead heavy campaign? Like, you're useless.
Like,
oh, you're still useless.
Why would you need turn undead if it doesn't advance it at all? You know, turn undead, one of those useful things to do against undead? Nope, can't do that. Suck at it.
Like, you're pigeonholed into one thing, but even that thing you don't do now.
You're crap at it.
No, you don't understand. It gets better. You gain the track feat, but only for undead.
Whoa! Oh my god.
You can use knowledge religion as your modifier for it instead of survival.
Oh my god.
I'm just envisioning some fucking retarded Skull Clan hunter, like, using the sutras of their god Oladamara or whatever the fuck choice they pick, going, the skeletons went this way, and then you see Grug the Barbarian go, no, they went that way. How do you know this? I see the blood patterns on the floor.
Dumbass. He's called you. Just called you an asshole. You have to be an asshole to pick a class like this.
But you also get Divine Strike.
Whoa! Oh my god!
Which is like a shittier smite or a turn. Because it allows you to deal extra damage as though making a sneak attack. Divine Strikes is their way to sneak attack undead.
Why not just allow sneak attack to undead? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, but with all those cleric levels and the fact that this prestige class advances sneak attack slower than a rogue, that's barely any sneak attack compared to a rogue that just simply takes the penetrating strike alternate class feature.
Yes! You know, that's...
I mean, yeah, you deal half sneak attack damage, but it actually might end up being around or slightly more damage than what this thing is doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's something, and it does it deals with undead a whole lot better than that. It also works with constructs too.
But you don't understand. You get immunity at 3rd level from fear.
Only from undead, though.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's scary. You'll still piss your pants with that scary dragon.
At 4th level, after how God knows how many fucking cross-class levels you fucking already did. At 4th level, so fuck it, I don't know, level 11. You're now immune to disease. You know who's also immune to diseases at that point? Paladins at level 3.
You know, at-will protection from evil is really nice, but here's the thing. There's so many other ways to get that via much better prestige classes out there, many of which are a lot more cleric-friendly. Not so much rogue-friendly, though.
But you don't understand, you get the Sword of Darkness. You get the Sword of Darkness.
Yeah.
You don't understand. You get the sword.
That might become the fucking name of this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh no, he's dying. The class is so bad it's literally poisoning you.
No, it's a skull clan hunter. They thought I was a zombie. The expression on that Draugur's face is mine right now.
Well, it's Lord like that. Now Dead's like, what the hell are you doing? You aren't gonna do shit.
Oh god, the character is emotionally destroyed from that hot take by that zombie he struggled to kill. This class is garbage. I don't like.
Yeah, this garbage.
It's garbage in the normal sense.
Yeah, it's just pure garbage.
Wait, looking at this thing's get up, I think that's actually supposed to be a lich.
No,
Oh
no, fuck no. They ain't winning against that. No.
no.
Notice that also. Remember, it gets immune to paralysis, which the liches can cause permanent paralysis.
Yeah, you know what a lich can do though? Just look at them and say, "I cast destruction."
Yeah,
Oh,
because any character who has a caster level of 11 or higher, including weird stuff like rangers, can become a lich with the right ritual.
You know, that actually, you just gave me a cool idea for a character, like the 1,000-year, like the forever wandering ranger, the last Frumentari of the ancient empire, who's been stuck on their eternal vigil along the border forts for 1,000 years as an undead, not even really fully remembering why.
1,000 years of crushing his cock with a rock.
As a Skull Clan hunter. Skull Clan hunter. Oh, actually, yeah. If you're level 11, you could no, wait, you can't because of the amount of. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on because otherwise I'm gonna have a fucking. Oh no.
Oh,
god,
no.
no.
This looks so bland.
What is there to say about this class?
I mean, the name itself is like the most blandest name.
The hilarious thing
ever-
that's kind of a bitch for fighter to enter because it requires 2 cents motive ranks.
Oh boy.
That's always
Wow.
nice.
We should probably. Okay, so this is the tactical soldier. Yes, that's its name, tactical fucking soldier.
Like this tactical shit soldier. More like the tactical shit bag.
It's like those if you remember like all those like tactical gear that you would get like. That's
You know,
what it
I
reminds
bet
me
this
of.
dork.
So,
I bet this dork got the Doc Martens from the name brand and not the actual factory which made them.
yeah.
If you're wondering, basically, don't buy Doc Martens. They're garbage. They're just the name brand. You have to. I forget the name of the company that owns the old factory that used to make them. They're still in business. You want to go there instead because that's where that quality came from.
Yeah. Anyways.
Probably puts a holographic sight on their fucking axe.
So why is this bland?
Can you just look at it? Just fucking look at it.
Well, you have to just take a cursory look at its class abilities.
Okay,
To
let's
realize-
do that let's be fair and actually go through them. They gain what's called flanker, which they can flank enemies from seemingly impossible angles. You can they can designate any adjacent square as the square from flanking occurs.
Just use Isle of Blades.
Yeah, you know what you do? You can even a fighter, level 1. Take martial study as one of your level 1 feats, and then for your fighter bonus feat, pick up martial stance. There. Level 1 fighter can do that.
Okay, well, can a fighter at level 2 of tactical fucking soldier gain sidestep as a bonus feat?
Oh man, that sounds fun.
Whoa.
I like how dead you sound when you say that.
I think it's because the Diopsid's having a nightmare where he's still playing Chief Wallflower, who's now prestiged into this.
Oh god. Obviously, I think the core problem was this class was designed clearly with the Miniatures Handbook in design.
No. This was designed in a time frame where the creators of 3.5, the people who wrote this, still didn't know just how fucking awful martial characters were compared to casters. They still thought they were amazingly powerful, and Monty Cook's delusional concept of martials are so overpowered that I wish I could weaken them more was still in effect. This was like, I think, the third or fourth book they released, aside from Dungeon Master's Guide, and there's like a couple other things.
What an asshole.
Well, no, I know how to make tactical fucking soldier better. Interpose. You can use this 3 times a day. When the enemy threatens them in melee and makes a successful attack against an adjacent ally, they can take the damage instead. They can shield. They can shield. Oh, I can't even fucking finish that sentence.
I like how you say that.
I can't even. You know you suck when I actually think the Dwarven Defender does that job better than you.
Oh.
my
Oh
God.
boy.
Defensive shield. No. I'll prove to you the tactical fucking soldier is good. I swear, it's good.
I love how strained you are to say that.
It's because my brain is actively telling me stop fucking lying.
My cat's
My
trying to
heart
get me to
says
get off this. He
no,
wants
but my
me to...
body says yes.
No, it's more along the lines of every part of me is screaming fuck no, but the tiny part of my brain that tries to be funny is like, come on guys, we can do this.
My cat is trying to scroll away from the tactical soldier by touching my laptop's touchscreen.
So
he's like, move on to the next class. Also feed me.
Do we want to? Is there anything else to say?
This class is not meant to be played.
So this class is no. I can't even joke about its rating. It's NPC garbage.
Yeah, it's NPC garbage.
If you actually think any of these class abilities sound good, people, it's the way they word them is highly misleading if you don't really know the rules. This stuff it grants is so minor, I would actually prefer the extra bonus feats from going straight fighter.
That's pretty bad because okay, I'll list like 1 or 2. No, fuck it. We're moving on.
Well, this one looks a lot better.
So the Warhawk. This is a class.
Oh boy.
I heard this one's pretty fun.
This one's memey. This one's pretty memey.
It's an infamous class among DMs because not all of them, but a good chunk of them, for some reason, get terrified of this one.
Oh no, a marshal can actually kill things. What do we do?
The reason that they get scared is Warhawks are one of the few martial builds that you can do that not only have the ability to stretch beyond just right next to an enemy because they always have reach due to their size, because I believe you have to be a large-sized creature. Yes, you do. But not only that, but they can actually hit multiple times on multiple targets without splitting their attacks based on certain abilities they get. So the concept of the Warhawk is, imagine in, say, a standard fantasy big battle, right? And you're the forces of good versus the forces of evil. And during the fight, all of a sudden you hear deep thundering steps, and you see a fucking troll with a mace covered in armor. That's the Warhawk.
It's like, surprise, motherfucker.
So to become a Warhawk, you have to be able to cleave, you have to have a base attack bonus of 5, and you have to be large. That does limit it to a degree, but it's easily fixable just with an enlarged person and
A
permanence.
permanent large person. The problem is though is that the permanent large person can be easily dispelled.
True. It's still not impossible to just pick a humanoid or monstrous humanoid race that just has it, though. You just have to deal with the racial hit die.
You can basically be a half ogre.
Yeah, half ogres would do it. I think half minotaurs too, if I remember right. So the Warhawk gets a big fuckload of hit die. It has the same as a barbarian. And this is an interesting class in that they actually gain no base attack bonus. It's a martial that doesn't get that.
Yep, but instead they get a +2 strength bonus every level.
Which,
while that means they get less attacks, that means the attacks they do have hurt hard.
And it's basically like if they had full base attack bonus progression. They don't.
Yep.
And they lose an attack.
2 attacks, actually.
They lose 2 attacks if you go through the whole thing, because it's 10 level. For a second there, for some reason, I was reading the chart as 5. I'm retarded. They lose 2 attacks, but those 2 attacks have a massive amount of strength damage to add to it. How many? 20 strength.
Oh god, that's scary.
Yeah, I think that more than makes up for like that.
No, what makes up for it is they also gain the ability to hit multiple tiles at once.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
one of their abilities.
makes up.
They also get a ranged attack.
Yep, they can throw massive boulders. They do lose the ability to use skills, though.
Yep, outside of strength-based ones and intimidate.
But if you go into this class, let's be honest, you're
You
just
were playing the dumb barbarian anyway.
Yeah, and plus intimidate is really nice. You'll be useful with interrogation and stuff.
Also, it randomly gets toughness for the last 3 levels.
Which, if you play in an epic game, you can infinitely just due to the way tough.
Yeah, due to how epic leveling works, if past level 10, you basically get +2 strength every level, and toughness has. No, wait, bonus feats do not progress in epic levels.
By the time you end the Warhawk, you actually get what's called massive swing. You get a mighty swing, which allows you to hit multiple squares in front of you. And they can make multiple mighty swings in a round, by the way. Massive swing allows them to hit every fucking square adjacent to them. They only get 2 attacks, but everything within 10 feet of them is dead.
Well, I think that'd be disgusting. Have like an artificer craft an item that grants the Warhawk divine power.
Oh my god.
Which would allow them to hit accurately.
What kind of asshole would do
that is more accurately, but also get all 4 attacks at level 20.
It's doable.
By the way, that giant boulder they can huck that is their ranged attack, they can eventually make it do splash damage. This thing scares DMs for some reason. But my logic is this. If you're allowing the crazy wizard to just spontaneously erase people with a spell, Ragnar the fucking mighty fist, who punches people to death everywhere around him because he's a 20-foot tall ogre, is just as viable and actually not as destructive as that wizard.
Yep.
Scary as fuck, yes, but not as destructive. I like this class a lot. I have the privilege of having a person playing this type of character build, and it's actually interesting because, oh god, the wild ride that fucker can go on just because of what he does.
Oh yeah.
Admittedly, some of it is due to homebrewing, not to the class itself. It's just he's big enough to wield a cannon as a great pistol.
Funny. Ultimately, I rate this class as decent. While you'll only do one thing, you're gonna do deal damage, you're going to do it exceptionally well. It's actually kind of terrifying how well you'll be doing it.
I say like if I say like this would be good because like if the barbarian is decent, like this is even like better than like this is like a step up from like the barbarian like alone. Like I mean, yeah, like it does its job like really well, and like you can do a lot, and it definitely more than makes up for like the lack of like BAB.
I'm
Yep,
person. Oh, you first.
This
Okay.
class is the apex of martial builds that don't use a single subsystem. So I'm going to have to say decent on the really high end of it.
Oh yes, trust me. If I'm rating it decent, it's almost good.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's like low end, it's high end decent, low end good. It's just with me, it just slightly tips over to good.
For me, I'm going to say it's good because while there's some setup needed to make it work, it's pretty easy to make it work. And on top of that, I would say it's one of the best options for a barbarian you can pick. There's only one that's really coming to mind right now. Champion of
yeah.
Gwynhearth.
Or also Bear Warrior.
Barrier Warrior too. I didn't think of that one. So it's like number 3 on that, and it's one of the best options for because unlike most martials, yes, they only can attack twice, but they hit everything around them, which means they actually do a lot more damage per round because they're not really they only get 2, but everyone's getting affected by that. At least everyone within their reach. Which is a unique kind of role for a marshal. Marshals usually only can really target one, maybe a few guys at once, depending on what setup they have.
All depends on if they actually are willing to divide their attacks.
That too. This guy, the Warhawk though, not a need. There's a couple classes that can still do that, but you don't see that until the ass end of 3.5. And actually, the last of the prestige classes is coming up. It's the Warchief. The Warchief is one of those classes, at least in my perspective, that is only hampered by one thing in its requirements. Because, let me read it right now. To become a Warchief, you must have led a tribe in battle. That is the only requirement besides having a base attack bonus of 3. The reason this is a bit is so restricting is there are games where you'll never have that happen. And the reason that this is the case for this class is, well, it's pretty clearly designed to be an NPC type of class to bolster the opponents that your D&D group is fighting. This would be the crazy savage warlord who has the coterie of loyal, bloodthirsty berserker troops. And it's really established in there. They gain devoted bodyguards, which is whenever a warchief is hit by an attack, they can make a DC 15 reflex save to have the attack actually affect one of their bodyguards instead. They also gain their charisma score improves, and they gain a variety of specials like Tribal Frenzy, ability boosts, which augments not only theirs, but also their minions' stats. So it's, to me, unfortunately, it's clearly designed to be an NPC class, but I actually think it's a pretty decent approach, especially if you're the type of person that actually uses hirelings or cohorts, or you take the leadership feat. If you can take a leadership feat, you get to get some pretty nasty minion mansu out of
Well,
it.
remember that much like Warhawk, most DMs ban leadership on the spot.
Because how dare marshals how dare a lord bring their troopers to battle?
Which is
It's
stupid.
it's because most DMs rather not have to deal with mass combat and similar stuff.
Which is fair enough, I guess.
That's where you set up limits instead. Like, you can bring a few of your most loyal troops, but not the entire fucking army.
other thing that there's been a history of players abusing leadership by acting like they get to control every aspect of their cohort to the point that they have a second playable character, basically.
Oh, and actually, another cool thing about the Warchief is that ability boost. It is purely on the Warchief themselves. They actually gain a shitload of charisma, and you might get a kick out of this, Al. One of their abilities is bluff and diplomacy. So you can actually
Nice.
get a very effective Diplomancer build with a Warchief. The charismatic, kind of like almost like Conan the Barbarian King. When he becomes king, he becomes this wise, respected administrator. It's kind of the same way with that.
I mean, I kind of wish it didn't have the restrictions that it. I mean, that's kind of a shame that it has such the restrictions with that, but otherwise, it looks like it could be. It has the potential to be a rather fun class.
So, like I said, I'd rate it NPC, but personally, I'd say it's decent if you actually if the DM allows you to pick it. Just don't spam followers.
Yeah, I'd agree it is decent, but at the same time, its prerequisite is something that most DMs would ban outright. Because even if they don't let the players control every aspect, a lot of DMs just don't want to bother with dealing with it themselves at the same time.
Yeah, this is definitely an NPC class, and I would, it would be decent, but
It's a bit of a shame, like I said. I actually kind of really like this class. It's probably one of my favorites. And that takes care of all the classes from the Miniatures Handbook. As a whole, the prestige classes are fucking terrible. It's kind of amazing, actually. But given this is an early D&D book, a lot of their classes, at least their base classes, survived years actually, which is pretty impressive because as 3.5 kept evolving, a lot of early classes actually got worse as time went on.
Especially the core ones that were bad.
Oh yeah, the core ones that were bad. Even with support, like the core ones that had support, even then they still didn't get much better.
Well, some are significantly more useful, like Bard, Ranger, and Paladin. Because they got feats and new spells to help diversify their toolkit.
The Paladin, I would say, as well as the Bard, had probably the lion's share of that, though. Because the best spells for Paladin, especially, are outside of the core book.
Yep, but you can easily see the same for the Ranger. And while Bard does get some nice core spells, they also get some really nice splat hook spells as well.
But yeah, I'm actually kind of happy about at least the basic classes. The Prestige can go fuck themselves besides Warhawk and Warchief for me.
yeah, there wasn't really a lot of good prestige classes. It's kind of a shame.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find actually good ones. Probably, I don't know, depending on which book we do next.
Yeah, there's tons of books.
3.5 is the most extensive edition D&D has ever had. So there's a lot of content.
Yep.
For many people, though, it's overwhelming level of content.
Yeah, I bet not many of you knew about the glory. Fuck me, I can't even say that serious. The shit-tasticness of Tactical fucking Soldier. But you also probably didn't know about the Favored Soul, which is a pretty decent little class, even if it does have that kind of fucked way of casting magic. Also, I'm betting almost no one knew about War Mage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I like 3.5 is just because of like the extensive amount of content. Like there's more like replayability.
Yeah, you'd be really hard up to have two characters be exactly the same.
Yep.
You pretty much have to do it intentionally.
So I think we went through this one. What's the next book we should probably do? There's a lot, but what particularly calls you guys?
How about the DMG?
Do you really hate me that much?
Yes.
Yeah, we can always do like
Yeah,
the
we got to show people the wonders of the original prestige classes.
yeah.
Huzzah! I can reveal the fucking arcane archer.
God.
Also,
Or-
red wizards, because Faerun became really popular this edition.
Or the dwarven defender.
Oh God.
Yeah, you forgot
But-
that was in DMG,
But
didn't
what
you?
about also the wonderful naked fighter known as Duelist?
Oh.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
There's also a bunch of more we don't mention because no one cares about them, even when bringing up shitty classes, like the Shadow Dancer.
I forgot that existed, and I fucking wrote about it.
I forgot about it. I forgot it existed.
I fucking wrote about it, each and every one of these, and I forgot like half of them existed.
Yeah.
That's how great the book is.
The only good thing is it kind of teaches you some basic ideas on. It teaches you how to create monsters of your own creation, though.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
one of the big draws of Dungeon Master guides. It's not its fucking prestige classes.
Bard's prestige classes are so great. I can't even
It's
say
like
that.
eating rat poison.
There's like 1,000 prestige classes over the course of 3.5, and less than 50 of them can be considered actually good.
Yeah, we're in for a wild ride. So with that in mind, I will do the Dungeon Master's guide. Oh, God damn it. We'll do it. Don't know when, but we're going to do it.